let me get tactical for a second. I tend to coach a lot of different size companies, from startups, where it's just, my advice to them is just get out and pound the pavement, grab your bag and go, to, $5 million companies or $15 million companies. And what I wanted to talk to you today about in some detail was, given the life stage that a company might be in, and I wanted to ask you what you thought the right life stages are. Is it 5 to 10 million, or 20 to 30? What are those stages where you start to see a different approach to how they spend their marketing dollar? When I was at Garden of Life, we spent our marketing dollar at 15 million in sales, very different than we did at 50 million. And I wanted to get tactical with you on, if I'm a $10 million company or I'm a $50 million company, how would you recommend in today's environment that those marketing dollars get allocated and prioritized? The smaller you are, obviously you have to prioritize it differently. And then as you get bigger, you can take more of a portfolio approach. But I'm all over the place on my question, but let's just get real specific. Let's say I'm a $10 million company. I've got X dollars to spend, and you're consulting with me, with IMG. How are you advising me to spend my marketing dollars at that size company?
Well, a lot obviously is going to depend on the product and the nature of the product and the audience. But in broad strokes, most companies, should be spending anywhere between a range of a low of 15% of sales on marketing, and maybe a high of 25%. Even some companies spending 30%, depending on their marketplace and the products, et cetera, et cetera. Right. But somewhere in that range is usually what we say. I think that as a company, I sort of see this change happen when companies get to about $25 million. We have a lot of companies we work with who are in kind of that under $10 million range, or 10 to 15 million. And then I think when companies get into that 25 to 50 million range, they start to rethink things, trying to go to the next level. And to me, a company in that $10 million range has got to be very focused. I think the thing that a lot of companies do is try and spread the limited dollars they have in too thin, across too many media. I think it's better to be stronger in certain key venues rather than trying to be everywhere at a lower level. Agreed. It's the thing that marketing teaches us nowadays in terms of the proliferation of channels and opportunities that we spoke about at the beginning of this interview, is that it's hard to break through. And I think you are really trying to build what we call effective frequency. You're trying to get to your consumer enough times with the messaging that they understand and that they begin to respond. And I think a lot of companies spend under that radar in various media, and the consumer really never gets it. And so, focus, picking the right media and being stronger in certain places. Second, I think you got to have a grassroots attitude, especially in today's environment. You've got to lay foundation to build future sales. Some of it won't pay off tomorrow, but things like social media and developing a Facebook page and tweeting, and we've got several clients who are very active on that front right now. We've got a health and beauty client who tweets probably, I'd say 10, 15 times a day, beauty hints. Look at this, special offers, come here, is your mascara too old? Could you be having a allergic reaction? And they're getting a great response. They've got people who are responding and coming into the franchise. The thing about social media that makes it tough, though, is because you've got to, it's a slow build, right? You're reaching consumers, but you're reaching smaller numbers of consumers, and it takes time. So it's not an exclusive strategy, but it's an example of a grassroots thing. I think there's also street teams, which we've done a little bit with clients, where we'll have street teams go out in certain cities and communicate product samples, coupons, give information, educate, or they go to an event. Event marketing. For a $10 million company, focusing their efforts on grassroots event marketing, social media, online venues, to me, those are really key important places for them to be. I think companies like that, to try and get out and be in Red Book and Ladies Home Journal, it's the cost per 1,000 is way too high. It's way too expensive, and you're never going to reach effective frequency. So I think companies often have these big dreams, but I think they're better to hold their bigger dreams until they get to a income level that they can better support them.
That's great.
That makes sense?
Absolutely, that's great advice. And I think that focused. I'm taking notes as you go here. Focused, grassroots, social media. Those are all the right way to go. I even go so far with some of these companies too. I think they get spread too thin on the sales front, and because they get they try to go attack the nation. A smaller company tries to attack the nation on a sales front. They feel like they have to support that effort with a national media campaign, which just is way too thin in my opinion. So being able to focus in the right regions for your target market allows for you to be more focused on the marketing side as well. When you mentioned street teams, I think that's just one of the underutilized resources out there for really focusing. It's just very good. So let's shift to 25 to $50 million companies. Now I'm at 25 million. I've got a role. A lot of those people are seeing high growth and are starting to try a lot of different things. I know when I was at 25 million, we were all over the place in terms of our marketing. What's your advice to that company that's growing through that 25 to $50 million range?
Well, I think focus is always the story, even at that level, like you just said, once you get some money and some success, we have companies come to us and say, yeah, I want to be on, on mainstream radio, and I want to be on network television, and they've got all these big dreams. And I think that's okay, but I still think focus becomes really important when you've got that kind of money, because you got to think of your media as, to me at that point, you've really got to start doing some serious media planning. Looking at vehicles, looking at cost per thousand, looking at editorial. I mean, really getting some professional involved and kind of accessing the market and figuring out what the best strategies are. I think that at that point, you also need to make sure you know your audience really well, because a lot of companies go through this growth period where they're sort of, shooting with a shotgun, and they're just hitting whoever will listen, and they see some growth, but eventually they really need to hone in on who their key customer is, who's coming back to buy again, who's the repeat business coming from, cultivate those people. I mean, to me, direct marketing, DR, is a good venue for those kinds of companies, because once you have a nice list of prospects who buy from you online or at retail, if you have the list, you can just mine that to pieces. I mean, there's all kinds of outbound emailing, special offers, newsletters you can do to cultivate your current customer. I mean, that to me, that's that $25 to $50 million. If you're not cultivating your current customer base and getting increased purchases, they're your easiest target. It's a lot cheaper to bring them in for another purchase than it is to bring in a brand new customer. So that data mining, those kinds of things become really important.